Hello friends, it's Saturday and I think it's a day for snickerdoodles. I don't know about you, but welcome to my stream. I'm Philly and today I'm making snickerdoodles two different ways. Well, the first way is going to honor the classic recipe that has been around for a long time, and I'm going to talk about that and the history of it in just a second. But the second version is one I've been thinking about with this recipe particularly. We have done some cookie recipes here, notably the chocolate chip cookies, and we tried a certain method to see if it was better. And I'm going to try that with our snickerdoodle today, and that is by adding brown butter to the batter instead of just the traditional melted butter and shortening. So welcome to my stream. Let me just make sure everything is up and running here so I can see the chat. I hope you're all having a wonderful Saturday. Okay, looks like it's all there. Hope you're having a wonderful Saturday. It's beautiful here in Philadelphia. Hubs and I took a walk today. City life, first of all, for the most part, Hubs and I absolutely love city life. Hey, Barbara, happy Saturday. So I was just saying, Barb, that for the most part, we absolutely love city life. But on the other hand, I also will tell you that it's challenging sometimes. So our eldest was going to be coming over early in the morning because he and his wife were going to go get their real IDs, the new way of doing driver's license for the real IDs. It gives, I guess, an extra layer of identification and anyway, all that stuff. So we had his birth certificate still, and they found it nearly impossible to get to our place because there was a bike ride, a Philly bike ride today. And what was funny is for a lot of the big events that happen in the city, there will be a lot that we'll hear from the news, kind of gives us a heads up that there's going to be these road closures. There was nothing. So and we actually slept in a little bit, which was lovely for Hubs and I. But I will say that we missed the local news, which maybe we would have heard of. And I'm sure, think about the young people. Oftentimes the young people aren't like watching traditional news. They're on their TikTok finding out things. The problem is that I think they would have gotten a hint about this. Well, in any event, there were so many road closures that finally my son's beautiful bride, his wife, had to walk. Like he stopped at one point and she walked to get to our place to get his birth certificate so they could go get it done. So sometimes living in the city can be challenging, especially depending upon the location. But for the most part, we love it. But these are the kind of headaches that are always fun and exciting. And DS, hey, thank you. How are you and your beautiful partner doing? Rose, right, Rose. Ruby, oh, I'm so sorry, DS. Oh my goodness, 50 brain. But Ruby, even better than a rose. So these flowers, DS, are actually fake. I'm going to be going away, leaving Wednesday night for a trip with my college girlfriends. We've all kept in close touch. We went to each other's weddings, we went to baby showers, and we have been meeting up every now and again at different spots in the United States. And we are going to be heading to Savannah. So very excited to spend some time with my close friends. And that's the reason why we don't have fresh flowers today, because then Hubs would have to deal with them and figure out when they're dead. And I'm trying to keep things as simple as possible for Hubs, which I know he appreciates. So I'm glad you are good. And Barb, are you well over there too, where you are? I know you're probably having the great weather, and I'm sure that DS and Ruby are having the great weather. So I'm just going to adjust my camera just a little bit because it is a little bit high. Let me just lower it just a tad because it just seems like it's maybe a little high than it needs to be. And I'm going to move my computer back just a little bit so it doesn't cover up what we're doing. So we are going to get into this straight away. I already have my oven preheating, and I'll talk a little bit about how I decide the temperature because there's an array of temperatures. Now, this is the family recipe. Not that we made it. We're not suggesting that, but this was the recipe that my mom used. And a little bit about that, my dad grew up eating snickerdoodles. So his mom made snickerdoodles, and in fact, the great story is, this is kind of funny and a little sad, but when my dad was in college, he would send home his laundry. he would send home his laundry to his sweet mother, my grandma. Oh my goodness, my dad's mom, so wonderful. Anyways, he would send it to her, mail it to her, and she would launder it, iron it, because back then almost everything was ironed, and she would send it back to him with homemade Snickerdoodles in the box. So how about that? Oh, they can't hear you. You should get your thing on.
If I would have done
Nope, 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 nope. Hubs is trying to talk and no one's going to hear, so he needs to get his thing on. There we go. Wait a second, Hubs. 1 second, friends. There we go. Okay, Hubs, there you are.
If I would have done that to my mom, she would have thrown it away or lit it on fire.
So anyways, that's a really fun story from my family. But none of my boys, first my boys would have gotten stuck thinking, how am I going to mail these back? Like that would have stopped them in their tracks right then. But yes, my grandma, as I've talked about, she's baked a lot. So this is a recipe that I've also had from her. And really, everyone kind of got their recipe of their Snickerdoodles back at that time from Betty Crocker, right? We did not have all of these cookbooks, and maybe you got it passed down with a little tweaks from someone in your family. But truly, when I looked, the recipe that I wrote down here is almost identical to Betty Crocker. The only thing different is that the one that my family used a little bit more cinnamon per sugar in the roll at the end than she did. So that's the only difference, but everything else is the same. And when you look at most of these Snickerdoodle recipes, because there are a ton, I did a lot of research just to kind of see what everyone else was doing and figuring out what I wanted to do, and they really are basically the same. And let's just talk about that real quick. So one of the things that makes Snickerdoodles iconic and kind of unique is they use cream of tartar. So and here's my cream of tartar right here. Cream of tartar is a white powder. I believe it is in essence a stabilizer. Don't quote me on that, but I believe, I should have actually looked that up. I looked up everything else. And when you use the cream of tartar, because some people also refer to these as sugar cookies because they are rolled in sugar, but there is cinnamon too, which is an extra like yum. Although Archie, he could always leave the cinnamon out because I know he's not a big cinnamon fan. But in any event, the cream of tartar enables the cookie's texture to be what it is, which is really tender, and it also contributes to its flavor, and it has like a little bit of a tang to it. We're not talking lemon tang, but it does have a little bit of a tang to it, which is addictive. So the cream of tartar is kind of the secret ingredient in Snickerdoodles. So for anyone watching that, especially if you're from another country, do you enjoy Snickerdoodles? And if so, when did that first start happening? But how about you, DS and Barb? And Archie, have you ever heard of Snickerdoodles? And Archie, by the way, you could just leave the cinnamon out at the end because when traditional Snickerdoodles are made, the cinnamon is added to the sugar at the end to roll. But I know you don't care for it, so you could just leave that part out, and it would be more of like a sugar cookie, but it would have that tang of the cream of tartar. So welcome, everyone. But I would love to, yes, DS, absolutely. And DS, or Andy DS says hello. Archie says, white powder. If it says it's made in Colombia, then don't use it, Phil. And DS said it is a leavening and stabilizer. So I thought it was a stabilizer, so the leavening part of it too. So we're going to first make the dough for the version I'm going to do today. Again, I'm doing classic, and I'm doing a little twist. The little twist is doing browned butter. So traditionally, the fat that goes into a Snickerdoodle is butter and shortening. Well, I don't know about you, but like for my cooking, I have not bought shortening probably since the last time I ever made Snickerdoodles, and it's been a while. It's been since we lived in the suburbs. And the thing is, with shortening, back for years, you had to buy like quite a large tub of shortening, to use this, and that was the only thing I would use. Now, shortening is also used in pie crust at times. Some people swear by half shortening, half butter. Butter, of course, gives flavor, which is why butter is important. So one of the things that shortening does in the Snickerdoodle is also help it keep its puff a bit. So the cream of tartar helps with that, but so does the shortening. So when I'm doing this brown butter version, I want to make sure that once I mix the batter, I'm going to be putting it in to chill so that it can be well chilled before we put it in the oven. And it's still, I'm expecting to flatten out more than the original kind, but I'm hoping that the flavor might be kind of like for what I don't get in puff, I'll get in flavor. So we'll see. We'll check it out. But welcome, welcome. And then Archie says, Snicker bars are more addictive than cocaine. Oh, that's so funny. I'm trying to think what, for me, is more addictive. I'm going to think on that for sweet stuff, things that I can just demolish. I'm going to be on that. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to brown the butter. So I already have some butter softened for the original version, but I'm going to brown some butter for our browned butter version. So let me get this heat on here. Now I have, since I last did brown butter, I'm going to use the stuff that just came out of the fridge. Since I last used brown butter, I did hear, I'm going to use a different knife, that a good way to make a great brown butter is to make sure that your pieces are all cut equally, you know, because that way everything's kind of melting and getting ready to brown at the same time. And that way you don't get like any burned spots. So I have my pan getting started, and I am using a pan instead of a pot. I think the last time I did brown butter with the chocolate chip cookies, I used a pot. I want a little more surface area. Now, since I'm gonna need let me just look. I need a cup of shortening. Now, see, I'm forgetting my math here. So let me just take a look here on, so for, I'm just looking, sorry friends. So yes, so this would be a half cup. So this is perfect because I'm splitting all these recipes in half. We do not need to have like dozens and dozens and dozens of snickerdoodles here. As much as I would like that, I kind of don't want that. So I'm splitting each of the original recipes in half, just so you know. So I only need a half cup of butter, so I'll just need all of this stick. So I'm just cutting it into like little tablespoons. They might be a little bit smaller. And then these are going to go into my pan, and I'll bring you over there in just a second once it starts going, so that you can see kind of the browning part. Because the thing about brown butter that's really important is you want to make sure that, and I'm getting this ready so it can go in here straight away. You want to make sure that it doesn't burn. So there is a thin line between good browned butter and burned butter. We don't want burned butter. So let me get our light on here. And let me get a spatula so this can start cooking. I have it on medium heat right now. And you know what, I'm not going to bring you over yet. Let's do some other things because they haven't even melted yet. So let's talk about temperature. Now, traditionally, the original recipe or the Betty Crocker recipe calls for a 400 degree Fahrenheit oven. So when I make cookies, I use convection. So that would be 375 convection because you always reduce it, if it's convection, with the air moving by 25 degrees. So it was funny. One thing I did know when I used to make them is sometimes, and this would happen to my mom too, is sometimes the bottom would get a bit too dark. So you always have to be super careful with that. And you do need to know your oven. You need to know the temperature, if there's hot spots or if it's running high, because you don't want to burn the bottoms. So, and then I've seen, when looking at recipes, I actually saw temperatures as low as 325, and you just had to cook them longer. So what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go in between. And I put my oven at 350 convection, which means 375 Fahrenheit. So the other recipe called for it that way, so instead of, I don't want to have to worry about two different oven temperatures, and I do know that sometimes it seems like the bottoms can burn. Now I am doing convection, so I'm less likely to have that be a problem, but I just thought that's what the happy medium will be, 350, which really results in a 375 temperature. So I'm just going to show you where my butter is and tell you a little bit more about the history of this iconic cookie. Let me take you all here. Okay, so we've got 1 second. Let me just put you all down and I can lower this so you can see. There we go. Whoops. Wonderful. Okay, so we have everything there. And you can see over here, by the way, the rest of our ingredients. We have sugar and flour. We have some eggs coming to room temperature. We have salt. We've got baking soda, and we have cinnamon. And of course, we have our important cream of tartar right there. You can see that the butter is bubbling. It is bubbling away. So we're just looking for that color to make it nutty and delicious. But a little bit about the history. So when I dug deep and did some research, I learned a couple things. That first, when this recipe really went off and increased in popularity was in the late 1800s. And what they think happened, they think it originated in New England and are probably from German or Dutch descent, although because they kind of started seeing a lot of the beginnings or a lot of the first clues of them happening in some Mennonite and Amish communities. And those are often have some Dutch descent, some German descent also. And then apparently there was a woman named Cornelia Campbell Bedford. She went by Nellie. And she shared the recipe in her local newspaper. By the way, this is starting to get a little brown. This is going to be coming along soon. I'm going to just turn the heat down just a tad because we want to remove it and dump it as soon as this happens. And see, I don't know if y'all can see, but we're getting those brown bits. I'm stirring because I want this to all happen at the same time. And friends, we are there. We are there. Do you see that? Look at that. And I'm going to put this right into our, right there. Get it out of the pan so it doesn't get too hot. And I'm coming right back at you, friends. So you just want to make sure, let me turn off the oven here. We don't need this on anymore. You just want to make sure that you do not let it burn. So when it happens quick. And you just saw that. There we are. Okay, let's bring this up just a little bit. Okay. So yeah, so Nellie put it in the paper, and you know, we think about this happening all the time with social media, but back in those days, it went viral. So it just spread across the United States, and it became like an iconic cookie, a very popular cookie. And one of the things that makes it really a great cookie is that usually, unless you don't have the cream of tartar, so that's the one outlier, but if you have that, you have all the ingredients typically. They're not hard ingredients to come by. So let me check out the chat here. Oh, Po! Oh my gosh, it's been so long. Po, I was just thinking of you. I was like, I'm wondering if she's gonna happen by because it has been a minute. I know the day streams are the best ones for you. So I'm gonna go into the chat in a second, but I just wanna add sugar and get this going. So here we have a half a cup, because again, I split these in half. By the way, the links are below. The brown sugar one, and I put this below, I used the second recipe, but I'm not adding vanilla. I'll talk about that later. And I think there was another, and I'm browning the butter. Those were the main differences. So I'm gonna add my sugar to this. Oh my gosh, this butter smells amazing. Like we could toss pasta in here, some gnocchi, lovely. So let's get some sugar. So the sugar we're gonna need to add to this recipe, and it's actually the same as the other, is 3/4 cup, because again, I'm cutting it in half. So I need 3/4 cup of sugar. So I'm so glad you joined us. It has been a while. So for 3/4 cup, I have a half cup measure and I have a 1/4 cup measure. And what I want to do is I want to get this kind of whipped up. I want the sugar to become one and really mostly kind of melt into it. Or dissolve, I should say. Dissolve is probably a better word to say. In this case, it is going to, it would help if I had this. In this case, it is going to do some melting, but it's not going to become caramel, of course. Okay, get that locked. So I'm going to get this going. By the way, I feel like a squirrel moment now because I also want to tell you that I was watching something on Instagram that showed how to make an adjustment so that my KitchenAid mixer would go straight down because mine doesn't quite touch the bottom. I mean, I don't want it banging on the bottom, but it doesn't always get everything because of that. So I'm just going to let this go for a little bit and kind of whip around. Now, back to, I think I was talking about, I don't remember what I was talking, I was talking about the chat. Let me get to the chat. So let's see here. Oh my gosh, I missed a ton. Thank you, DS. I kind of feel like once I'm baking, I need to wear the apron. And the apron is from my niece, Bethany. She got it for me shortly after I started streaming, which was wonderful. So, hello, Bethany. Let's see here. Okay. So DS says, I have an ice cream problem. I had to check myself into Betty Ford. That's hysterical. The tres leches is another issue for me. Oh, absolutely. And Pa, Pa, have you ever heard of Snickerdoodles? I was wondering that where you are in South Africa. And yes, also said eggs should be at room temperature for baking because they incorporate better into the batter, allowing for a lighter and fluffier texture in the final product, as cold eggs create lumps. Absolutely. And that is why I've had those out coming to room temperature, so they will be perfect for this. No, never. Well, Po, this is a classic, definitely a classic American cookie. So what's happening right now is when I first added the sugar and started beating it together, it just kind of had that like wet sugary look with all the butter, but now it's lightening in color. And I really want to not rush this step because while the butter is melted, so I'm not going to create the fluffy texture that you would with the room temperature butter, I do want to incorporate it. And I'm also trying to cool off this a little bit because if I put the eggs in with it right now, it also could start scrambling, which we would not want. So while I'm letting this go, let's get my, my dry ingredients measured and ready. Okay, so again, we're having that second recipe, which is essentially the same as the first one. And so in here, I'm going to get 1 1/4 cups flour plus 2 tablespoons because the whole recipe is 2 3/4 cups flour. And you really don't have a 2 3/8 measure. So a cup is made up of 4 tablespoons, so I'm just doing it that way. So I'm going to measure it carefully, making sure not to compact the flour. And one of the things, by the way, that makes Snickerdoodles an easy cookie recipe is that, especially in the original recipe, you add enough flour that you can actually, you don't have to chill the traditional dough. Now again, we're using melted butter, so we are going to chill this, but the traditional one we won't. We'll mix it up and we'll get it baking. So I'm going to get a spoon. And again, what I'm looking to do, oh, I do need my 1 cup measure. Oh no, because it's 3/4 cup. Okay, I have a bunch of numbers looking at me since I divided it. So I'm looking for 3/4. No, I am. You know what? You know math is not my strong suit. It's amazing I can cook it all. I do need this. And meanwhile, my husband's just laughing and giggling at me, thinking about how crazy I am. Okay, so I do want 1 1/4 cups flour plus 2 tablespoons. So I'm just gonna, so what I'm doing here, whenever you have flour that's been sitting a while, you want to kind of spoon it and release, spoon it and release. You want to lighten it up because flour can very easily become compacted. Now, one of the ways that many people solve this problem is they do their measurements in weights and then you're never worried. But unfortunately, most of these, especially these recipes from way back when, they were not done by weight. People didn't weigh their stuff. It was all through their cup measures. So then what I like to do is take my other side and I want to just flatten that across so that I don't have any extra. I'm going to be a bit precise here because we are baking. 1 second. There we go. So there's a cup, and then I need 1/4, and then 2 tablespoons. Okay. There you go. I'm going to get my tablespoon. One, 2. Okay, so there's our flour. We'll keep this just aside for our second batch of the traditional ones. If you're just joining us, we are making Snickerdoodles 2 different ways. And the first way we're making them is with brown butter. So we've already browned our butter, and it is mixed with the sugar right now. And we're just measuring our dry ingredients. We want to give our brown butter a chance to cool down so it doesn't cook our eggs up. So to our flour, we also have a dry ingredient of our cream of tartar, and we're going to need 1 teaspoon of that to go into our dry ingredients. So let me get that measured. Actually, what's nice is they have a little leveler, which is really nice. Of course, the thing is trying to not get it all on your counter, but if you do, oh well, it's not a big deal. That's what counters are for, to catch things, right? And then we're also going to be adding to it 1/8 teaspoon of salt, kosher salt, and some baking soda. And for baking soda, it's going to be 1/2 teaspoon. So let me put those back there. Get my 1/2 teaspoon. There we go. All right. Now, to help these stay light, I'm just going to take a whisk and whisk it together. It kind of helps incorporate them, mix them a little bit, and lightens it before it goes into our wet ingredients. So let me put all this back here. All right, so let me show you what this looks like at this point. Whoa, wrong way. Let me show you what this looks at this point. So here we go. Let me lift it up. So you can see what we've got here. It's kind of thick, and it's not whipping up because it is melted, but you can see all the brown specks of the brown butter, and that, my friends, is flavor. So next what we're going to do is we're going to add the eggs one at a time until incorporated, and then we will add our dry ingredients until it's just mixed. So the traditional the recipe usually has 2 eggs. We're cutting in half, so we just need 1 egg. Whoa, that went right through the fingers. There we go. Now, if you're safe, like Sarah Moulton, she always says put it in a cup so that you don't get shells in. I like to run on the wild side. It is no surprise. And I dropped some egg yolk on my carpet, so let me just get that up real quick. There we go. All right, let's see here. And Archie says, only frequent visits, posh places where celebs and VIPs congregate. She would. You're right, Archie. You're right. She does go to the very best. Oh my gosh. And Archie suggested that Hubs that you should have beat this by hand. I think that's wonderful. Oh my goodness. And we have a lot of conversation there. That's hysterical. Oh, it is a spirited chat today, friends. Glad to have you. And then Dia says, it was hilarious to see the video you made of Andy taking food when you turn around, especially when he pointed and said, what's that, to divert your attention. Yes, one of my favorite things to do is to take some of the funny outtakes. I'm going to start beating this, by the way. The funny outtakes that happen in the kitchen during our live streams. So I had made this one showing how he always tries to steal food during my live streams. And then recently, I just dropped one last night, which was just him like encroaching on my space when I was making the arancini for the first time. I was really tense and nervous. I know that's no surprise. And I was like, back off. But I didn't say back off, but I meant back off. All right, so we have just incorporated our eggs. Want to get those nice and fluffy. And then we're just going to be adding our dry ingredients that we have here. So you can see it's really simple. It's a very simple recipe. All right, so let me show you what this looks like so you can see. See how lovely and light colored that is? Adding air, and the egg enables us to add more air since that butter was melted. So I think we're in a good spot there. So I'm going to turn this down. There we go. And we're going to add our dry ingredients. Okay. So let me get them. I wish I had cameras all over the place, y'all. If you want to find someone that can, make that happen for me, please, I would love that. So we're going to just dump. We're just going to dump that in. We're gonna lock it back up, and I'm gonna start slow to get incorporated, and I'm just looking for this. I don't want to overbeat this, I just want it to come together. And it's almost together, so I'm gonna actually bring down the sides, because you know everything always sticks to the sides, and we want all of that in our cookie dough. I'm also gonna go across the bottom to make sure some of that stuff has been turned over. So we're just gonna go in, do this, and give it its final mix, and we are gonna be getting this dough chilled. And remember, the reason this dough is gonna chill, unlike the classic recipe, is because using melted butter, we do wanna make sure to give it the best chance not to spread as much. Okay, and this has come together. Again, we don't wanna overmix this one, so it is ready to go. Let me just do my little trick for getting, wait a second. There we go. My little trick for getting some of the stuff off, just doing a little bit of a spin before you come up, it releases a bunch of it. It also is a little dangerous, but as you all know, I love living on the dangerous side. Okay. So I'm gonna put these, or this, in. Ooh, I think I taste it first. Well, you can definitely taste the butter. So there are proponents. I'm gonna give this to Hubs because I'm a nice wife. Here you go, babe. So there are people that since the beginning, when it was definitely shortening and butter, that make these all butter. They do tend to spread a little, but of course butter gives you flavor. So that is absolutely, you know, up to you if you prefer that. But to get the true snickerdoodle consistency, the shortening really does help. So, and there is that flavor with the cream of tartar. So you got that going on there. So I'm just getting this all out, leaving nothing to spare. I'm going to get a little spatula for my spatula. Okay. Oh, this is the pink one, Arch. I think you're going to start protesting. All right, so now, oh, you know what? I wasn't supposed to do this. It's, of course, I was meaning to put this in my glass one because it would help it chill better because okay, I'm just going to switch it. I wanted to put it in here because it would chill better because glass, you know, in fact, if I was really smart, I would have had it already chilling because glass can kind of add to the chilling factor, whereas plastic isn't really going to do that. All right, so here is our dough, and it has the specks. So this is what's cool about this one. It almost looks like vanilla, which, by the way, we will talk about some people adding vanilla to their snickerdoodles. Makes me a little sad, not going to lie. But I guess you'd call them vanilla snickerdoodles then. But this has specks because of that delicious brown butter. So let's put this in the fridge and let it chill away. Ooh, and speaking of fridge, I gotta show this to y'all. It doesn't look that great right now because it has been marinating for a couple days now. If y'all can see that. That is black cod, and I've made the iconic recipe of the miso mixture, which involves miso, mirin, sake, and sugar. And it marinates for a few days, and we are cooking that, broiling it actually tonight. My son and wife are coming over for dinner, so we're getting fancy here. We're having restaurant Philly right here. So I'm gonna need to wash this because we are gonna need this pan for our second batch. So good. And now that I dirtied my one I wasn't supposed to dirty, I'm gonna wash that too. So Hubs, what do you think?
I think it's good.
Will you be a dear for me?
Sure.
Would you mind, while I'm washing these dishes, checking out the chat for me? Do you have your microphone still on?
Nope.
That would be a no. Or would you rather do the dishes? It's up to you. Okay, I'm gonna get some, and I'll dry them. We just get some soap in here because we're gonna need these. I don't live in a fancy kitchen where I have like multiples of all these things. Okay. I just need these 3 things. These are the 3 things that need to be washed. Did you put your microphone on?
Nope.
Well, could you, in case anyone asks you a question, and that way you can answer without sounding like, oh, blah, 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 blah. He is a bit of a curmudgeon at times, you know that. But he's my curmudgeon, and I love it. Archie, my outtakes break too many rules. I bet they do. I bet they do, my friend. So, DS, you asked a most interesting question because DS asked, which cookie do I prefer, crispy or chewy? And I will have to say more times than not, I prefer a crispy cookie. But for my snickerdoodles, I like them chewy. And that is one thing that can go wrong with snickerdoodles. You do not want to, unless you want a crispy cookie, and kind of traditionally they're not. They are meant to be they're meant to be crisp on the edges, chewier on the inside. You don't want to overcook them. And we'll talk about that when we get to the baking. You want to make sure the outsides are done, and kind of like with a traditional chocolate chip cookie. You don't want the inside to look like it's really, I mean, it looks done, but it's not like as done as the edges, and then you want to pull it out. I have had,
You know what my
have you
answer
had snickerdoodles that are crispy? Because I have.
No.
Because the home cook, you know, basically, and this would happen with my grandma and my mom. Sometimes they would be chewy, sometimes they would be crispy, just because, you know, we're all doing multiple things while we're baking, and you might miss a few minutes, and then all of a sudden they've kind of gone past the chewy to crispy. But that's a really good question. What about you? Do you like crispy or chewy?
Yes.
He likes all. He's a non-discriminating cookie enjoyer. And I would have to say for me the most. And I'm still trying to think of what I have trouble saying no to. So I used to be a bigger sweets person, but I feel like I am not as much.
Pasta. You can't say no
Yeah,
to
pasta I can't stop on. And we talked about that. It calls my name from the fridge after we put it into the fridge. So pasta is my thing. I have
Rice
more
too.
trouble with lipids. Rice too, potatoes too. But as far as like a sweet thing, I would have to say more so anything bite-sized. Like I feel like if it's chocolate-covered almonds or chocolate-covered anything. Oh, there's chocolate-covered. Remember we had those chocolate-covered raisins that were like raisinets, but they were really good chocolate. That was hard. I had to. Oh, or chocolate-covered espresso beans. So
Yeah, I have trouble with anything sweet.
okay. One thing more than the other?
No. I mean, it's just anything. Ice cream, you know, was Diaz saying that he can't say no to ice cream, wasn't
Someone said
or
ice
somebody
cream.
said, and
I think it might have been DS that
I
said
mean, that's
ice cream.
like I
Yeah,
struggle.
he said he has ice cream problems.
Yeah,
He has to check into Betty Ford.
I'm with him.
Yeah. And Poe says crispy for her too. She likes a crispy cookie. And I think the reason why, Poe, is that some of the crispy cookies I've really enjoyed, and I had something in my throat all of a sudden, is like it's delicate crispy, and I like that, you know. But it's probably more chocolate-based for me. I mean, back when I was younger, I would say Swedish Fish.
Ugh.
Oh, gummy bears.
I like those,
Oh
but
my goodness, I used to love gummy
I can
bears.
say no to those.
My dad loves
Dad's
gummy bears. He's a big gummy bear
It's like a
person.
gummy bear fiend.
He actually, remember, wasn't it President Reagan that had the gummy bears?
No, he was
wait,
jelly
jelly
beans.
beans.
He was
That's
jelly
right.
beans.
So one of our presidents was known for always having a jelly bean jar. Well, my dad was like that with gummy bears at work. He would always have a gummy bear jar that he would keep full. Oh, it's your work. It's pretzels.
It is.
They have a pretzel like obsession, which is kind of funny.
You walk in.
I'll take that.
Our,
No,
you
that
know,
can try. That one's done.
You walk in our office and there's literally 4 different types of pretzels that are there.
Nice.
And they last for like a week and then they're gone. And I think I probably eat half of them.
Whereas for me, pretzels, I have definite power unless they're a soft pretzel. Especially, oh my gosh, Annie Ann's here in the States. Oh, those are amazing. So we're ready for the classic cookie. So the classic cookie, again, has the same ingredients except for we're not browning the butter. So we're going to start with some softened butter and some shortening. Now, as I mentioned, back in the day when you got shortening, it was in a big tub that just lasted forever. And I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. I guess it didn't go bad, but it just seemed weird that we had this tub of shortening that was around for years. But what's nice now is I'll have this for years, but at least it's going to be packaged up. So we're just getting normal. The only shortening I can find at my grocery store was Crisco, and that's frankly what my mom had. She had Crisco shortening. And they actually have shortening that tastes like butter now, but you know what? I thought about it, but I'm like, no, I want to just stick to the way I grew up, the way my dad grew up, and it was plain Crisco. You got flavor from butter, but I don't know, and I don't know if it's all natural anyway, and I don't like the idea of like artificially flavored butter. Like that just takes the joy out of butter. So we've got Crisco, and as you know, we are going to need a total of, so I'm going to have to do math again, that's fun. We need a total of a half cup of shortening. So half of it, because in the traditional recipe it's 1 cup, and makes it easy. Half cup of shortening, half cup of butter. But here we're going to be splitting. So I have my softened butter. I'm going to need to cut this in half. And then here I'm going to need, so 4 tablespoons here and 4 tablespoons here. And I mean, I'm only going to be using like a little bit of shortening, my Lord. Oh wow, it's very sealed. Who knew we needed so much sealing for our shortening? I'm not quite sure why we have Crisco, the plastic with the foil. Kind of feel like the foil could just be all lined up. I don't know, like that seems like redundant and wasteful. I don't mean to preach, but I'm just saying, just an observation, Crisco. I don't think we need both of those. Whoops, put that there. And again, we are going to need 4 tablespoons. So this I'm actually just going to cut with a serrated knife and then plop it in there. So shortening is already soft, so you don't need to worry about anything softening. Let me move this so y'all can see what I'm doing. So first we have our shortening, and it's all marked for you. See? Very nice, just like butter is. It's all marked. So, but it's curved a little bit, so I need to just adjust that. So I'm going to just do 4 here. Smooth as white butter. Okay. And I don't know when I'll use this, but I have it. Instead of a neighbor coming to borrow sugar, they can come borrow some shortening. So I've got 4 of those. It's a little bit greasy, but I know that's the point. Okay. Love a mess. I especially love the greasy messes. Those are always fun. And I'm not going to worry about it. Actually, I'm not going to be able to cut, so I'm going to get this cleaned off because I'm not going to be able to hold my knife properly. And 4 tablespoons of my unsalted butter. I forgot to mention that. With all baking, it is best to get in a habit of using unsalted butter, because then you're adding the salt, you're in control. All right, so we have our 4 tablespoons of butter. There we go. And I can see I went a little shy because it wasn't quite lined up, so I'm going to dig out just a smidge to make sure I have the proper amount. There we go. Okay. Awesome. There we go, our room temperature butter. So we have in here half and half shortening and butter, and now we're going to add our sugar. And our sugar is 3/4 cup sugar. So let's get our sugar back out. 3/4 cup. So 1/2 cup and 1/4 cup. That's a chunk, so I'm going to avoid that. So just such simple ingredients. 1/2 cup, 1/4 cup, which is what makes these cookies so approachable. So Paul, what have you been up to? And do you have a favorite sweet thing to bake yourself? I'm curious about that. Or Paul, what is popular in your country to bake? Oh, let's just put this over here. So now we're going to cream I need to dry this. Now we're going to cream our butter and sugar. And this I don't want to rush either. This I want to make sure that even though it's not melted, I do want that sugar to incorporate into the fat of the butter. So there still will be some granules, but I don't want to like make this step too short. So we're going to get that going. I want it to be light and fluffy and almost completely incorporated before we start adding the egg. Now, by the way, if you are making the full recipe, Another tip would be add the egg when it's appropriate, one at a time. Don't just plop them both in. I mean, you can, but again, to help make that consistency in the cookie the way you want it, it's the little things that matter. I feel like Ina Gardens kind of talks about that. You know, we don't have a lot of ingredients here, so some of the technique will result in a better snickerdoodle. So like, why not just do that? Okay, so I'm creaming these. And again, it's so easy, by the way, because they're both room temperature. So I'm just going to scrape my bowl before I finish the creaming and let it go for a little bit. Because, especially with mine, it doesn't quite reach the bottom. So I need to be mindful of that. That's something I am going to need to try to fix it now that Instagram showed me how. Okay, so we're going to let that go. So let's check out the chat. So Archie says the scrubbing brush and spatula color match with Hub's underwear. Oh, Archie, you're being naughty today. Puss says Scottish shortbread are your favorite. That I love shortbread, Puss, so much. And DS says Ruby likes Tate's. Do you mean Tate's cookies? They are so crispy. I love Tate's cookies. In fact, I love their chocolate chip cookies. I'm very fussy on chocolate chip. I think most people call that a pain in the ass. I am, because I feel like so many places have chocolate chip cookies, and sometimes I'll take a bite, and it's just okay. Like, I love homemade ones. I love Tate's, but a lot of the sometimes our grocery stores make a chocolate chip cookie, and most times I think they're not good at all. Like, they're kind of bad. The only exception to that is we have a grocery store chain nearby named Wegmans, and their chocolate chip cookies are delicious. They're well done. They're more chewy side. And DS says shortening works well with cookies especially. Sometimes like what you are doing, half butter, half shortening. Absolutely. And same with pie dough. And every fat during baking delivers a different experience. You're exactly right. And Pa is... I think you're smiling there. I'm trying to look at your emoji. And Archie says, real Scottish shortbread has amphetamines in it. Yes, because it's so addictive. Creaming is the most important step in cookie making. Absolutely, yeah, so you don't want to rush it. And Archie says it's the little things that matter. Oh, Archie's getting naughty again. Oh, Archie. Oh, I just got to show you what this looks like. I should have shown you what it looked like at the very beginning, but when we first started doing this, like, look, it almost looks like frosting there. When we first started creaming it, it was very granular, and it wasn't even quite a mixture yet. And now it's gotten smooth. So let me check it out and see what I think about it so far. So let me take some, ooh, it's getting fluffy. That's what you want. Oh, friends, this is very nice. It is fluffy. I'm going to show you kind of up here. It almost looks like frosting. Look at that. It almost looks like frosting. Very nice. Okay. I'm going to let it go a little bit and get my egg ready to add to this mixture. Just take some of that off. And then I'm going to get our dry ingredients set. So I'm going to let this go. I'm going to get my egg, which is right here. I'm going to get my dry ingredients, almost dripped on my rug. So we're getting back out the flour and the cream of tartar, the salt, and the baking soda. Getting all these out into all of my utensils. Okay, so for my flour, move this up here. All right. So I'm going to add my egg now. I'm going to stop it just so I don't make a royal mess. You know what? I am putting it in something. Not because I'm worried about it dropping, but because it's a bad angle for me. Let me see if I can do it like this. There we go. There we go. Very nice. So we got our little egg there. Let's get that going. Get that incorporated. I'm actually, before we measure, I just want to, again, beat down these sides so it can mix better. Oh, this texture is amazing. It's very nice. So what's going to enable our cookies to be baked right away, as I mentioned before, is the amount of flour. The amount of flour will create a thick enough batter that we don't need to chill this version. Okay. Okay, so we're going to let that go, and we're going to measure. So if you recall, we're measuring 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of flour. Whoops, here's my cup. And I'm going to use my spoon to make sure it's nice and light. All right. By the way, these are definitely one of my favorite cookies because, and if I'm being honest, it is a cinnamon, which I know, Arch, you don't love so much, but I am a cinnamon aficionado. But what are your favorite cookies? Like if you're making cookies and you're going to take the time, what are your favorite cookies to make? I'm curious about that. Oh, and I have a second question. I'm feeling like DS here. My second question is, what are the cookies that like make your heart warm from your childhood? So whether a grandma made them, an aunt made them, your mom made them, your dad made them, what are the cookies that kind of give you that reminiscence when you think about them? I kind of would love to know that. For me, it was Snickerdoodles and it was chocolate chip because my grandma made both. They were always in her house every time we went. Every time we went. I don't ever recall a time visiting my grandma where there weren't cookies in a special tin. It was a large tin, so she had them for all the grandchildren. I'm putting this there. And that we would enjoy. Oh, friends, you should see what this looks like now. It looks like what we saw before, but now it's got a beautiful yellow hue because of the egg. Gorgeous. Look at that. Beautiful. Let's take a look at that consistency. So see what happens when you don't rush it. Now, if you're beating this by hand, I do know that it becomes a bit of a workout, but a lot of us do have mixers. And so then the mixer really helps, take a lot of that work, and we can be doing other things, right, while that's happening. So I'm just going to remove this stuff because I want to just kind of incorporate everything. It is so light. Again, almost looks like frosting, which when we think about frosting is just really butter and confectioner sugar. Oh, this looks fabulous. I think this is ready for our dry ingredients. So I'm just going to let this hang out, and I'm going to get our dry ingredients ready. So we have our 1 1/4 cups flour plus 2 tablespoons, and then we're going to add a teaspoon of cream and tartar. And of course, I need to use my little leveler. And these are all magnetic, so like this happens. It makes it a little tricky. Okay. And my lid fell. And my cream of tartar has it all over it since it's that powder. Oh my goodness. And then we want a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Let's get that. Oops. I love how baking soda, they have like this, oh, now it's a little bit, there we go. They have like what's happening is there's little balls of it and it's misjudging my measure. So I want to make sure I'm measuring it right. Oh, 1 second, friends. It kind of, there we go. Perfection. Sorry about that. And then an 1/8 teaspoon of salt, which has cream of tartar all over it now. Where's my little schmidge? There it is, 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And that's it. So now is the time to talk about the whole vanilla thing. Now, I will not dislike you if you add vanilla to your Snickerdoodles, but I do feel like it isn't a true Snickerdoodle because that is not the tradition. So what I would say, if you're going to do that, is you should call it a vanilla Snickerdoodle because it is not where it comes from originally. Originally, it was those simple ingredients. And when you think about it, part of what made this cookie, I think, besides being delicious, but also what made it such a popular cookie, is you didn't need many ingredients. It involved ingredients that many people had. And I'm sure back then, I bet you they had cream of tartar more readily than we do because they used it for leavening and for stabilizing other things they cooked. So it just, you didn't need, vanilla would have been expensive. Sugar was expensive, for goodness sakes. So I just think, you know, we all have vanilla so readily available, and I'm not saying it would make for a bad snickerdoodle. I'm just saying it's not original to it. So that's my only thing. So we're just going to add this now. Whoops. There we go. And since we're just having the recipe, we're just adding it all. Now, if we were doing the full recipe, I probably would add half of my dried ingredients, and then I would add and incorporate, and then add the other half. I'm going to start slow because otherwise the flour will go everywhere. So I just wouldn't add vanilla to the classic recipe. Again, I love vanilla, so let me be clear there. But I just feel like it's not indicative for the roots of this. Now, I'm going to show you, this dough is already, comes across thicker. So I don't want to overmix. There we go. Okay. So now I'm just going to bring it out. Okay. We just want to mix until it is incorporated. I mean, a little bit more than, say, a muffin recipe or a shortbread, because a lot of times with shortbreads, you might still have lumps and all that. But with whisking our dry ingredients, we take out any of the lumps, so that really shouldn't be happening. And it's just that we don't want to overmix it at this point, because what happens is the gluten in the flour, it'll just start doing what gluten does, and we want these to be delicate. Not delicate, we want them to just have the right crumb. Let me taste. Oh, there is something to the taste of it. That's the cream of tartar for sure. I'm going to leave this for Hubs. Let me get the extra flour out. Leave that for him, since he was so kind as to do that. And I'm going to put this in a smaller bowl, actually this bowl, so I need to move this. I'll put it here. And the reason is because it's just easier for me to scoop from there. So let me just put this in a smaller bowl. This step is not necessary, but this is such a deep bowl that we've already used it anyway. So I'm just going to put this in there. It'll be easier for scooping. So friends, it is time to scoop, bake, and taste. Now, it is funny. I always find this funny, and I know they're meaning for your best experience. But, you know, they talk about after the cookies bake that they should rest for 10 minutes. And I don't know about y'all. Well, I don't go into the cookie right away, and I don't want to burn my mouth, so to speak. I just laugh because I'm thinking, who's really waiting 10 minutes to get to a warm cookie? But I get it. The ultimate texture might be better at that point. So before we roll these, what we need to do, move this out of the way, is we need to get our cinnamon and sugar ready, because that's what we're going to need for both cookies. So what we're going to put together here works for both kinds. And basically, the rule of thumb that I always use is easy. It's 1 tablespoon sugar to 1 teaspoon cinnamon. So I'm going to, just to make sure we have plenty, because I don't want to skimp on this part, I like a well-sugared snickerdoodle, I'm going to do 3. The original recipe, I think, calls for 1/4 cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons cinnamon. In my opinion, my humble opinion, that's not enough. That's not enough cinnamon. I do want them cinnamony, but you can do you. And that's how we always did in our family. The one I copied from my mom was that ratio, 1 teaspoon cinnamon to 1 tablespoon sugar. So I'm just going to get 3. Again, I don't want to skimp. There we go. And I'm going to get 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. Hubs, I have another. Hubs just brought me coffee. Thanks, Hubs. From our favorite coffee place nearby, right?
Yep.
Is it from
Coffeezeet.
Coffeezeet, yes. It's a German coffee place that I'll give them a little bit of billing there, Coffeezeet. They are the most lovely couple. You know, part of a business, you have to have good products, obviously, but part of it is, and it's even pretty.
Since I carried it back.
Since Hubs carried it, I mean, it's not.
A lot prettier before.
It's not as perfect as it would be in the store, but look, okay. I got a little cappuccino, and this is, friends, the only cappuccino that I do not add sweetener to. I love whatever the beans they do. Besides being a great barista, They have done so much research in the beans that they get and making sure they're processed properly. And so it results in a very smooth, not only espresso, but a very smooth cappuccino. And I know for any of you, if any of you are joining me from Italy, I know I'm committing a cardinal rule because I'm having this after, is it 10 or 11, where they do not have milk to their coffee. It's a no-no. So when we go to Italy, we will be very good. We will not be that tourist that says, I want my cappuccino. I will be good. And that's going to sound really nice coming back when I watch this, that little like intonation I did for I want my cappuccino.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Is that really?
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. It's a sure sign of a tourist. So let's add our 3 teaspoons. This is brand new cinnamon because I ran out. I go through cinnamon very quickly. I use it in a lot of things. Oh, the smell of cinnamon is just the best. He does not. I said that to him. I said, this part he would not like. Let's see if I can do this. Yes, that beater is yours. Did I leave a little thing there? Wait, say it again. Do you have your microphone on?
Nope.
He just said I'm the best twice.
Did not.
So I'm going to put 3. And I'm getting cinnamon all over my counter now. So, you know, this whole measuring thing is wonderful, but the jars, I wish they could make short, squatty jars that we could just stack, because then we'd have wider mouths on which to like not spill all of our spice or cream of tartar. Companies, would you consider doing that? Okay, so there we go. And I've made a royal mess, but that's me. So now we're just going to mix this, and I'm going to get a little mini whisk to do that. And you can tell, oops, I have a sugar lump. Let me get that cut. So now I will tell you, because I like the 1-on-1 ratio, you'll be able to tell that mine are a little darker. So if you don't like that, you can follow the ratio of 1/4 cup to 2 teaspoons. And I won't mind that at all. But I like it to be, if it's going to be cinnamony, I want it cinnamony. But Archie, I was mentioning that all you would need to do is leave it out. You'll still get the wonderful tang from the cookie. It just won't have the cinnamon at the end. So it's nice that you're not adding it, you know, during. It's just at the end. Okay, so now we're going to get our scoop. And a scoop is a nice way to kind of make sure that they are, you know, about the same size so they cook evenly. And I'm going to get these on here. And then I'm going to scoop out my brown butter ones, and I'm going to get them on the other sheet, and then we're going to bake them off. So we're just going for a scoop. Now what you need to do, I'm going to take off my ring because we need to roll these guys. Now, if you wanted to make this dough ahead of time and then do it later, you can. Just, you know, it's not that you can't refrigerate it. It's just that you don't need to refrigerate it. So now I'm just getting this all rolled around. There we go. And I'm going to put 12 so they're not crowded. In fact, I'm going to make a couple and then I'll get them sugared, or I should say cinnamon sugared. But it is good if you're doing cookies to have them be all about the same size so they cook off similarly. Okay, so now we're going to get these all mixed. I don't know if it was a smart idea doing what I did, because now they want to stick. You know, when you try to rush it, when you try to rush goodness. But this is a wonderful step that if you have little ones, whether it's nieces, nephews, like maybe you're, although I don't think she's super little anymore, but as they can do this step, they can actually do a lot of steps. But like the rolling, I remember doing this as a little girl. I was always very excited to roll. It got me so excited about the cookies because they smelled so good, and I knew we'd be eating them soon. So these are the things that you remember when you're young. Okay, let's get a few more. Thank you all for your patience. So is everyone having a good weekend? Barb, how's your weekend so far? And Barb, I might have missed, I think I might have missed what what cookie you enjoyed growing up with. I would love to know that. So I'm actually not going to do 12. I'm going to do 11 because I'm going to put these in between just to make sure we don't have any touching. No touching allowed. And then I'll put 3 in the middle, 4 in the ends. What I love about after you've been making these is they even get more cinnamony because you're kind of, it's on your hands. And so when you're rolling, you're getting a little bit of it in then. So one of the notable things with these cookies is when they do bake off, they have a little bit of a crackled nature to them, to the tops, which they are known for. And that's the sign of a real snickerdoodle. And I do think, obviously, the cinnamon is a sign. But again, I know Archie can't be the only one that does not like cinnamon. So just leave it off. Everything else about it is so good, and it actually just makes it more like a regular sugar cookie, but it's a little special. But definitely different than a shortbread, because I'm with you. A shortbread is like a whole nother level of yumminess. But these are just a little bit lighter. Yeah, like a nice little light treat. Okay, just one more of these, and then we'll get the brown butter ones ready, and we'll pop these in. Our oven is ready. It's been ready for a little while now. So I'm going to bake these off together. We'll do a taste test, and then I'll finish baking the rest of them off after the stream. And this is perfect because we're going to have these for dessert when I have my black miso cod with my son's wife and my son for dinner tonight. There we go. All right, so I'm going to wash my hands just so I can get the other stuff without totally mucking up my refrigerator door handle. But here we go. These are the regular ones. See that? They're all set to go. And now we're going to get the brown butter ones. Take another sip of my cappuccino. And let me check the chat real quick. Let's see here. Oh, you're all quiet. Everyone's a little quiet today. Let's see.
Tired.
They're tired. Oh, wait, there is more. Okay. So let's see here. Cinnamon. He's laced it with gin. They do love their espresso in Italy. Absolutely. You are exactly right. And Paul likes her coffee black, no sugar. So Paul, I'm a bit of a baby with this, which is why I always add sugar and a little bit of milk. But their espresso, I can take straight up, and I love it. It's just so smooth and delicious. But my dad was like you, just used to take his coffee just black. I think now he adds a little bit of sugar because he figures where he is in life. Like, what's a little sugar going to hurt? Cinnamon and Satan spice. Oh, he wants me to put a Carolina Reaper in the middle of one for Hobbs. There you go. Cinnamon, 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 cinnamon. That was for you, Archie. Okay, so DS was wondering, and I'm going to throw this to you too, Hubs. When autumn comes around, what foods excite you most? Do you have one that comes right to mind, Hubs?
Well, it's more of the savory foods that we don't eat during.
Yeah, put your microphone on, babe. Where did you put your microphone? Oh, there it is.
It's more of the savory foods that we don't eat during the summertime, you know?
I think I know I look forward to the braising,
Yeah.
the
like
roasting. Let's look at those
exactly.
little specks of the brown butter.
And then I kind of we're getting closer to meatloaf season, so then.
Oh, we're a little bit behind in meatloaf season. I should have made one by now. So after my trip, that'll be on the docket to do. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to move this so y'all can see better. Move our regular dough. I'm just going to put these along in the same way I did the others. Actually, I'll put these 3 in the middle first. So you can see that this dough is much firmer, and this is going to be to our advantage since it had time to chill. And that way, it'll give it a chance to it'll still flatten out, but it'll give us a chance to not maybe flatten out as much as it would have. And that's why we're chilling it. We just want to aim to get that butter a little firmer because it's all butter. There's no shortening in there that can help stabilize that whole process. And we'll return this to the fridge after these are out. Okay, so let me get these. And because of that, because it is a firmer dough, because we had it chill, it's actually a lot easier also, as you can see, putting in multiples at a time with the cinnamon sugar. So that's nice too. Okay, so we just have 4. So we're doing these much quicker. Oh, these are going to be good. So I think I'm going to put these on the bottom and the other ones on top, because I'm going to put the top ones, because they're classic, I'm going to have them at the top, and these are going to be on the bottom rack. Because I think with the cinnamon on them, it's going to be hard to see which have the specks until you bite into them. Okay, all right. I wish I could share these with you all, by the way. And I wish I could share what this kitchen's going to smell like in a little bit. Okay, I'm going to put this back in the fridge so it stays chilled. All right.
This coffee's really good.
Oh, so did you just get Cafe Americano?
Yeah, it's got an Americano.
No, so did they have their drip coffee, or did they?
They did.
They did, but so what's nice is you don't have to even, they do offer drip. One of the days we went there and they were done with the drip, they sell out. So he just got the Cafe Americano, which is a great way for those who like coffee the way we like here in the States. Just order that. And then it's going to be much more like your cup of joe that you're used to. Okay, these are almost ready. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Tubbs, do you have an idea of what you're going to think? Like, do you think these are just going to taste both good but different, or do you think one you're going to prefer more?
I think they're going to both taste good, different, but I think I'm going to prefer the what do you call it, butter, the brown butter.
The brown butter. Okay, Hubs is going, thinks the brown butter. So I'm going.
Everything's better with brown butter.
Everything's better with brown butter. We have learned that, haven't we? So these are the brown butter ones, and they're going to go in. We have our oven preheated, 350 convection, which would mean 375. Again, we're going in between some of the temperatures because you can get a little burnage sometimes with the 400. 400 is the classic Betty Crocker. So these are going on the bottom because they're the brown butter bottom, and these are the classic, which are going to go on the top. And we don't want them overdone. I'm going to set my timer for 6 minutes because it's convection. It might take up to 8. And who knows, it could, with those brown butter ones, they might take a little bit longer. And so yes, let me see. Let's see what our chat is doing. Take a little break here. So Poe was asking, where am I going? I'm going to Savannah. So Savannah is south in Georgia. And my freshman year, I went to Miami University in Ohio. Everyone's like, Miami University, Florida? I'm like, nope, it was Miami of Ohio. And at that point, my family lived in Ohio. And my sister went there, and like a total little sister, I was like, I want to do what my big sister did. No, we weren't there at the same time because she graduated right before I went. But yes, I literally filled out one application to Miami. Like, kids these days fill out 10 to 15, if not more, applications. It's crazy. It was really easy back in my day. And it was a state school, so it was affordable. I think it's become less affordable now, as most college and universities have around here. But we all met freshman year. We were all in the same dorm. None of us had chosen roommates, so we all had roommates that were just thrown in with us. And anyways, we became fast friends quick. And yes, and that has lasted through college. We actually, I lived with one of them junior and sophomore year, and the other ones, like two of the other ones lived together, and others lived with other, friends that they had met, but we still all stayed close. Like, we would still get together, even though I'm just looking for my rings, even though we would, do things with other people. And then afterwards, we all went to each other's weddings and baby showers and trips after. So we've gone to Chicago, we've gone to Charleston, we went to Rosemary Beach, and then now it's Savannah. So I'm really excited. They are the best girls. They're wonderful. And through the years, when we see each other, it doesn't feel like we've skipped a beat. Like, it feels like I saw them yesterday. We jump into the conversations, And we do catch each other's up because obviously times have changed since we first started doing this, but they are the best of friends. I love them dearly. And Puss says she likes Americanos, so you like that. And Diaz says, my favorite cookie is the compost cookie. It has chocolate chips, butterscotch chips, mini marshmallows, oatmeal, pretzels, and potato chips. Wow, that is a melange. But, you know, Hubs actually, I didn't like butterscotch as a little girl. I feel like Hubs has opened it up to me. Because what's the candy that you love, Hubs? The butterscotch Butterfingers. Butterfingers. That's one of his favorite candies. And so when the kids would bring them home and they didn't want them at Halloween, he'd be like, I'll take them. So yes, I'm trying to think. My favorite cookie, yeah, as I said, I think chocolate chip and Snickerdoodle. Those are probably my favorite cookies. And Hubs loves macadamia nut and white chocolate chip.
And I don't like white chocolate, which is the weirdest thing in the world.
And you can't hear him because he doesn't. Did you turn it on?
No, I've got it right here.
Here you go. Okay. Go ahead to say that. I don't want to speak for you.
No, I don't like white chocolate, but I like, one of my favorite cookies is white chocolate chip macadamia nut cookies. Doesn't make any sense, I know.
No, I hear you. And I'm wondering if, so Barb said kolache. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I've heard of that cookie, biscotti. Oh, I do love biscotti. And Italian thumbprints. Delicious. So I actually, during Christmas, and I've done some Christmas streams, or baking streams, when I'm doing my Christmas cooking, I do make a biscotti every year, and I dip it in chocolate. I do love a biscotti. What I like about biscotti is they're not too sweet, which is very much not what the Snickerdoodle or chocolate chip cookies are. They are quite sweet. I think in December, January, I would like to make a cookie that my grandma made, that my mom also made. Again, this is my dad's mom, that my mom also made of hers, called, they were fig pinwheels. And I was actually talking about them with my kids. Just looking at it, I smell. Oh my goodness, yum. I was talking about with my kids that I teach because we were talking about figs. They're like, what's a fig? So I was trying to explain it to them, and they were kind of going, ew. And I'm like, no. I said, it actually, like, you make a jam with it, and it makes a great cookie. And so I showed them pictures of what the pinwheel fig cookies look like. So I think I might make those, because you've never had those, right, sweetie?
What's that? I wasn't listening, I'm sorry.
The fig pinwheel cookies that my grandma used to make. I don't think Mom's made them.
I don't think so.
And I know I've not made them.
I like figs.
Yeah, I like figs too. So I think that might be something I'm going to make. I'm already trying to think about what I'm doing next month. And Barb actually gave me an idea that I'm not going to say, but I'm incorporating into next month's schedule. And I have another idea of my takeout, try, or buy. So putting it together, and that'll be coming up before we know it, because it's like we're past halfway of the month. Oh, these are gorgeous. I'm just going to bring you over so you can see what they're doing and see how they're puffing so far. Let's take a look at the puffage. I feel like saying puff the magic dragon with that. Okay, so these are, let me go back a little so you can see better. So those are the traditional ones. See, they puffed, and look, these are puffed at this point just as much because we chilled them, right? That's good. Archie says his dentist wants him to eat more biscotti. Sure, Arch. Sure. Now, this is the timer for 6 minutes. I don't think they're going to be done yet, but I'm going to take a quick peek just to kind of see how they are. I know we just saw them from the outside. I do want to get a little closer up. Yes. Ooh, they're not quite done yet. They're starting to do that crackle. You know how I said that they kind of have a crackly appearance at the top? They're starting to do that. The other thing that's nice about adding the amount of cinnamon we add is you get to see it more. But again, if you're cinnamon shy, you can stick to the lesser amounts. I'm going to get out my racks right now so that we can put them on there to cool. Oh my. There we go. So I think we'll just put either side here. And I'm going to get, so actually I do want to put 2 more minutes here. Okay. I'm going to need this, and I want a little bit of a trivet to put the pan on. Let me just move this a bit. Let's see. So Puss says, I don't believe, or no, Archie says, I don't believe you. Oh, Puss says, I will never have cookies in Amsterdam. Oh, I'm wondering what kind of cookies they are. I miss this whole thing, friends. I'm so sorry. So when Barb had said kolache, biscotti, and Italian footprints, Chef Archie said the cookies in Amsterdam coffee houses are supposed to be the best ever, so I've heard. So I kind of think I know what you mean. And then Puss said she's not going to have those. Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. And Puss says, I refused to have high tea when I was there. Can you imagine having those Amsterdam cookies and wine? That would be mind exploding.
It'd be awesome.
And then Puss says, I can handle Scottish shortbread. That's it. That is very funny. I missed that whole Amsterdam conversation. I'm sorry. I must have been asleep at the wheel.
It's my brother's favorite place in the world to go.
Yes, I remember that. And Barb said they're so easy to make. That's what I like about them. They're approachable. I always thought biscotti were these kind of unapproachable cookie, but they are very approachable. The only thing, they just take a little bit of time because you bake them twice, but it's just very doable. I'm just creating space here. Okay, we're about to bring them out. Put my pan here, and we're getting that crackle, which I'm very excited about. And they just make these perfectly round cookies, which is delightful. I haven't made these in a minute, so I just want to make sure I don't overbake them, but don't underbake them. You know what I mean? And I missed something else. I think DS says, I'm curious, is there anything you didn't like as a child that you like now as an adult? Oh, and the aroma. The aroma is amazing. So DS, there is something that immediately comes to mind, mushrooms. Apparently when I was like very young, a toddler, I loved mushrooms, but kind of I went through that stage where you ate just about everything, and then you start getting fussy, right? Okay, I'm just going to take more of a peek. So I feel like these might be done. 30 more seconds. So mushrooms, and I adore mushrooms now. I definitely went through a period where I didn't like mushrooms. I think it was a texture thing more than a flavor thing. And I do not like jarred mushrooms, because I don't know what happens when you jar them, but that texture goes in a really bad direction. It's super rubbery, and I think it's very distasteful. I don't like it at all. So occasionally we've gone to pizza places, because one of my favorite things is to have mushrooms on pizza, but they put jarred or canned mushrooms on pizza, and I was so put off. Like, I picked them off. They just ruined it. The texture, ugh. So how about you guys? DS and Archie and Pa and Barb, what was something you didn't like as a child that you love now? And Andy, what's something for you? I'm going to take these out. I just don't want to overcook them. Ooh, nice. Oh, my. Those are,
you know what? I have
those
one.
are the classics.
I have one.
Friends, I am so excited because doing what we did, I've not seen any difference as far as, let me just show them to you. These are the brown butter. Those are the classic. They look the same shape. Neither one spread. I am thrilled because I was worried about it spreading too much, being butter, all butter. But these are the classics. I see, you can see that crackled, especially there. See that crackled appearance? Especially here, you can see some of the crackle. And then these are the brown butter. Again, you see the crackled appearance. I'm so pleased with how they look. So chilling that batter was essential so that you didn't have them spread too much. Okay, so what I'm going to do is these, I'm going to put my brown butter ones over here, and I'm going to get these off and put them on the rack. I'm going to let them sit for one more minute because I know sometimes when you take a cookie off too soon, it's too tender and you might run into problems, and we don't want any of these to not go well. We want them to go nicely onto the rack so they can finish cooling. So was there something? Oh, don't they, Arch? And Archie, again, just leave off the cinnamon. That's all you got to do, because I know you're not a cinnamon guy. Or maybe do half. Maybe make half of them with the sugar and then add cinnamon for Amy, because maybe, does she like cinnamon? I'm curious about that.
Do you want to
By the way, green peppers is what DS didn't like when he was younger.
Do you want me to? I have one.
Yes, tell me.
Beets. I actually don't mind beets now.
Right. I didn't like
used to
beets
hate
either.
beets.
I didn't like beets either. I didn't like the idea of beets. I was just, okay, so wait, I have, these are the classics are going to go on the right because you can't go wrong with classics. You're going to help me remember that, Hubs? Classics are on the right. Beets. Oh, and then, did you not like Brussels sprouts either as a child?
No, I was okay with Brussels sprouts.
Okay. My mom didn't like Brussels sprouts as a child because back when she was growing up,
boiled them.
people just boiled everything, and they boiled it till it got soft, lost all texture, frankly nutrition, but that's just what people did. And now we roast them, or we just boil them till just tender. I mean, I think veggies were boiled so much long ago that they lost their brilliant color. You know, they kind of looked dim. Excited. The kitchen smells amazing. I would imagine our neighbors are not very happy with us right now. It's kind of our getting back at our wonderful neighbors that always make delicious breakfasts on Saturday and Sunday. So we went out to take our morning walk today because we couldn't get to the gym because of the bike race. And the hall, it just smelled amazing. And we keep forgetting to tell them about that. We keep forgetting to tell them how much we enjoy the aroma on Saturday and Sunday mornings from what they're baking. Oh, I'm just so excited about these. And hopefully my son and wife are going to be as excited when they come over. This will be a nice dessert to have with dinner. So with the black cod, the miso black cod, we are going to be having as a first course some I didn't make them, but some soup dumplings in soup, and they're pork. And then I will have quickly cooked a little bit of baby bok choy to put in the soup with I'm going to make my ginger miso broth that I like making. And then our main course is going to be a black miso cod, as well as some steamed broccolini. And I'm going to drizzle a little ponzu and some sesame oil on top. And then dessert will be these. Hubs, I think it's time to taste.
Okay.
He didn't seem really excited.
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Tired.
Hubs is tired. He's just going to leave it at that. So Archie said, are we having them with pre-dinner cocktails? No, these will be with the, nightcaps. They can have these with nightcaps. I'm going to make a little appetizer for before, and we will have few cocktails, not few, but like some cocktail. We each have a cocktail before we have dinner tonight with them. So I'm excited. It's going to be very much like an adult date night, and then they're bringing games. We're going to play some games afterwards because they have so many different cool games now. Oh my gosh. And so they're bringing a couple of them over that we enjoyed before. So very excited to see them. And Post says, I hope there's chilled Prosecco. So not tonight. I'm making actually my favorite fall drink, which is, I do have chilled wine. I've got a dry, not vermouth. What is it, babe? I gotta look.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
It's okay. Can you put your thing on because we're gonna be tasting? I've got a dry Riesling and I've got a Sauvignon Blanc. So, because you kind of, with that meal, you want, I think a whiter wine goes better with it. And personally, I like a dry Riesling with a lot of Asian flavors. But I do have a Sauvignon Blanc if anyone prefers that. So close, just no bubbles. But my favorite fall drink is this drink that we first had at a restaurant that's recently closed, over the past year. And it was tequila shaken with lemon juice and that cinnamon. Actually, I don't know if I think I did post this. I can't remember. I made some of this super powerful cinnamon simple syrup, and it is just delightful. It is a great fall cocktail. So that's what we're having with our light bites at the beginning. And then Barb said, I love them roasted with Kalamata olives. Is that the beets that you do? I just want to make sure I know. It's because that sounds delightful, Barbara. And Archie said, on the subject of beatings, Hubs needs a few in my opinion. Phil, we need a symmetrical row of cookies, please. Thank you. I know, but I did make it symmetrical. Like we have 4, 4, 3. Remember, we don't have 12 because we did 3 in the middle, so we wouldn't have too much spreading. Slap the husband's a great party game. Oh, that's hysterical. Okay, let's do this. I'm so excited.
She always does slap me, Archie.
Did you hear that? Did you put it on? Okay. All right. So we have on the right, because you can never go wrong with classic, we have the classics, and on the left we have the brown butter. Let's do classics first. Let's get our palettes.
Are we going to actually have a full cookie, or are we just going to split
one?
it? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think.
These are fun. Look, they're perfect on the bottom. And convection does ensure not burning, which is nice. A lot of times in a regular oven, and if you have a regular oven, there's nothing you can do, but you want to watch them, they can burn. Oh, and they're perfect. Look. Oh, I got the bigger end.
Yeah, of course you did.
They're so good. You can't go wrong. They're so freaking good. So good.
Yep, that's pretty good.
Not for nothing, you don't need to elevate them. I'm just crazy that way. I'm always thinking.
And I'm not,
Those are so good.
this isn't necessarily my favorite cookie, but that was, no, I mean,
But in insomnia, these are better than insomnias. These are.
I don't know if I've ever had an
I've had
insomnia
one, and they're good, but they're not as good as these. You know, split that one. I would have picked a different one, but that's okay.
Why?
Because I would have picked the one that was more cinnamony.
No.
Okay.
A little bit more butter taste, but that's about the only
I'm just
difference.
trying to taste, like if I taste, they're delicious. But I'm trying to
That's
taste
pretty
if
good.
there's something different.
Very similar.
Very similar. I was thinking they'd be more different, but
Not much, yeah.
very similar.
Awesome cookies.
They're
Both
both
of them.
delicious. I don't think, you know where I feel the
They're
butter?
a little richer.
They're a little richer, and I feel it more at the end. Like at
Yeah.
the end, as I'm like finishing chewing and swallowing, that's when I feel like I notice the butter, if that makes sense. So they are a little
Yeah.
richer, which is
Awesome.
technically they both have the same amount of fat in them.
Well
right?
done. Well done.
It's more
well
of the
done, chef.
aftertaste. The aftertaste, I taste the butter. Like literally right now, I can taste that brown butter. So it's more that this lingers more in a good way. You know what I mean? Whereas that is kind of clean and done.
So are you going to keep them separated?
Yeah.
Because it would be interesting
Yeah.
to see what the kids
Yeah.
think tonight, or whether they change, or if, whether as they cool down a little bit. I
Absolutely.
don't know.
So I feel like I have good news here.
Yeah, they're both
The good news is
really good.
they're both awesome. The brown butter snickerdoodles are fabulous. They are delicious, but they are a little more time consuming. You have to you might be a little stressed. Am I going to burn the butter? I'm thinking that, so this is my takeaway. You can't go wrong doing it. It is simpler not doing it, but also you might be like, I don't want to have shortening. So these are delicious without the shortening. And I bet you if you didn't brown the butter, and I know I've seen recipes with just straight butter for these snickerdoodles, but I will say I've seen those recipes and they're usually a flatter cookie. So if you're gonna make them with just butter, this is my advice. So either do the brown butter or just soften all the butter, right? But after you do that, be sure and give it a good chill. Because I think what made these stay almost identical shapes and looks, I mean, they are literally, they're almost identical. I don't think visually you'd be able, you can kind of see now that I'm looking a few specks like you do with like fresh, not fresh, but from vanilla seed, when that's in there. But beyond that, you wouldn't be able to tell. But I think the chill is important then because butter will just spread more. It's just, that's part of why they put the shortening in. So if you want a really good snickerdoodle, do them the traditional way with the shortening, mix, load, bake. But if you're going to use all butter, be sure you chill the dough good enough, at least I'd say a half hour to make sure it's well chilled, and then make your cookies and keep that batter in the refrigerator while you're making the cookies. So they don't spread out too much. This was fabulous. Oh my gosh. Archie, Barbara, Poe, DS, I so enjoyed you all coming. And anyone else watching that doesn't like to drop in the chat, that's totally fine. But friends, this was a deliciously sweet afternoon, this Saturday afternoon. These Snickerdoodles do not disappoint. They really, as long as you have cream of tartar, you'll have everything else in your kitchen. They are a delightful cookie that are easy to make, and they have a great history, right? So friends, the next stream will be, I don't have that up and ready. Let me take a quick peek, friends, because I know I always tell you. So the next stream, I'm just going to get to my Twitter page. My next stream is Tuesday the 28th. So again, we're going a little over a week, and it's going to be at 5 p.m., Tuesday at 5 p.m. What's for dinner? So you'll have to find out. We'll see what I'm making for dinner that night. So friends, hello from Philly. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And from my kitchen to yours, until we eat again, bye-bye, friends.